For over a century, the caboose was a familiar sight at the end of freight trains. Hello, rail fans. I'm Clive Reynolds with StarBright Productions. Today we are going to take a look into just why we no longer see the caboose on the end of a train. The caboose was a symbol of the romance of the rails, and its presence was a reassuring sign that all was well. But by the end of the 20th century, the caboose had disappeared from most railroads in North America. The reasons for its demise were many and varied. Technological advancements had made the caboose largely redundant. The rise of trucking and other forms of transportation had also led to a decline in rail freight traffic. This hastened the caboose's demise. The phasing out of the caboose was a gradual process. It began in the 1970s and was largely complete by the 1990s. Today, cabooses are a rare sight on mainline railroads. They're mostly relegated to museums and tourist railroads. The caboose, also known as a brake van in some countries, served several important functions in the early days of railroading. It was primarily a safety device. A conductor or brakeman would ride in the caboose and keep a lookout for any problems with the train. If a problem was spotted, the crew in the caboose could signal the engineer to stop. The earliest trains did not have continuous braking systems. This meant that each car had to be braked individually. This was a time-consuming and dangerous process. The brakeman in the caboose would operate a handbrake that would help to slow and stop the train. The caboose also served as a mobile office for the train crew. The conductor would use the caboose to keep track of the train's cargo and paperwork. The crew would also use the caboose as a place to eat, sleep, and relax during long journeys. The interior of a caboose was often Spartan but functional. It typically contained a desk for the conductor, bunks for sleeping, a stove for cooking, and a toilet. Some cabooses were also equipped with a cupola, a small domed lookout point on the roof. The cupola provided the crew with a 360-degree view of the train and its surroundings. This was essential for spotting problems and ensuring the safety of the train. The conductor would spend much of his time in the cupola, keeping a watchful eye on the train. Life in a caboose could be lonely and monotonous. The crew would often spend days or even weeks away from home. They worked long hours in all kinds of weather. Despite the hardships, many railroaders developed a strong attachment to their cabooses. The development of continuous braking systems in the early 20th century was a major factor in the decline of the caboose. With continuous braking, the engineer could stop the entire train from the locomotive. This eliminated the need for brakemen to ride in the caboose and manually apply the brakes. The introduction of radio communications in the mid-20th century further reduced the need for a caboose. With radios, the train crew could communicate with each other and with dispatchers from anywhere on the train. The final nail in the coffin for the caboose came with the development of end-of-train EOT devices in the 1970s. EOT devices are small electronic devices that are placed on the rear of the train. They perform many of the same functions as a caboose, such as monitoring brake pressure and detecting derailments. They relay this information to the train crew via radio.
Unknown. Frank Burkholzer tells us it has now reached the end of the line.
One by one, they're being taken off the trains, shunted aside. The caboose, a venerable fixture of American railroading, is obsolete, unwanted. It was developed, the caboose, for several serious purposes. It was an observation post at the end of the train, where the conductor and the brakeman could look ahead for signs of trouble, monitor the air brake pressure on the last car. Very useful as trains became longer and longer. For generations, each conductor had his own caboose, his home away from home, decorated to his own taste. He and his crew ate, slept, and worked in it. Now, computers which sort out the individual freight cars keep the records conductors used to handle. Electronic sensors every 25 miles test the wheels as the cars roar by. The crews sleep and eat in town, but they miss the old caboose.
Oh, yeah, I hate to see it go.
Yes, I think it's unsafe. You don't have any men on the rear of that train to see if anything's going wrong.
Kind of like when the caboose goes, it's going to be like when the steam engine's going, you know. It'll never be the same.
When the caboose goes, something has to replace it on the end of the train. And that something is called end-of-train device. It monitors the air brake pressure on the last car and displays it for the engineer up in front. So this end-of-train device, which costs $6,000, replaces this end-of-train device, which cost $85,000.
We, as a crew, we hate to see the cabooses going. Like I say, that's progress.
With progress, you win a little and you lose a little. And one of the things you'll lose is the view from the caboose. Frank Burkholzer, NBC News on the Santa Fe.
The next time you see a caboose quietly sitting in its final resting place, just imagine the many hours a crew member would occupy that almost forgotten piece of history. Thanks for watching our video, StarBright fans. And by all means, make sure you hit that like button and leave us a comment below. Oh, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss our next exciting video. Until then, look out for the cars.